Right then, driveway to hell. It's not even my driveway, which is a bit random. I've been so busy, which is great, but it's absolutely done me in. It's just miles galore. So my car's up on mileage, and I've had to come to my good friend Hannah Bevan's house to swap over my car with hers, and then I get another one for a day, and then I get my proper contracted car in about 2 weeks time, I think. I don't even know. Anyway, so I'm on my mate Hannah's drive, and it's driveway to hell, which is nice, isn't it? It's been a long time, isn't it? From Thruxton to now, and backed by popular demand, I've asked Matt Neal if he'll help us out, because he previewed Thruxton so well last time. I thought we better ring him again, because he basically upset everybody, which was quite interesting. Let's give him a ring. Hoping he's going to answer. I have messaged him and he hasn't messaged me back, so it's never a good sign. Let's give it a go anyway.
Hey.
Hey, Matthew. So I've started recording, and I was gonna shout you at 4:30, but I texted you and said, "Are you ready yet?" And I think you must have been busy with something more important, mate.
Someone probably nicked your text message.
Hey, I'm in Oxford, mate, so they don't nick anything round here. They're too posh.
Oh, they gave you one. They gave you a text message free.
What's going on at 4:45 in Birmingham? What are you doing?
Well, we obviously we clock off at 4:00 and start in the pub at 4:30. So you've just caught me right. Birmingham, the sun's shining. It's lovely here.
It is nice. I'm sat in my car, and I can't have the aircon on because it obviously plays havoc with the audio, which is never good, mate. So yeah, it's a bit muggy, mate, in Oxford, but Birmingham, sunny as ever. I've been down the pub with you actually a few times, haven't I? Down that way. Is that still a regular occurrence with?
No, I'm not really a big pub goer, but in this, you've got to stay hydrated in this weather, haven't you? It's pretty important. So I keep on telling the drivers that and everything. So
actually, I was going to ask you, you drinking a bit more and eating a bit more now you're not driving?
No, I'm not, but I have put on weight because normally I'm pretty mean with myself, and keeping weight off and losing weight isn't pleasant. It does mean you've got to go hungry, and I've been exercising. I'm probably exercising more now than I would do in a normal season, but I'm probably 5 kilos heavier than I was last year, which I've got to get it off. I've got to do it. So it's just around.
Is it muscle? Do you think it's muscle?
Not around my tummy, no.
You were pretty lean, weren't you, when you were driving touring cars last year? And that's the difficult thing, and not to be disrespectful, but when you get older, it's hard work, isn't it, trying to keep fit?
It is. I used to get to the beginning of this. I've always carried a bit of weight because my mum used to, I always get a clip round the ear for not cleaning my plate, and so it just wounds me to see food left on the plate, and so I've always carried a bit of weight, and but I used to get to the beginning of the season and I just cut down my eating for a week, lose a stone easily, and then just carry on the way I was. And then suddenly, about 10 years ago, I did that and nothing happened. And I went, oh. So I had to change my whole sort of lifestyle a bit and do it as all year round, which was a bit painful, but you get used to it.
We spoke about this the other week, didn't we, actually, when we were chatting about fitness and things. It's actually, I rode 75 mile the other day on my bike, and I know that isn't going to lose me weight. It's the intake of calories, full stop, isn't it?
Yeah. I've never got over when you came and stopped at my house when you were working at the NEC for a couple of weeks and emptied my fridge and filled it with your so-called diabetic stuff, and all my food went off because it was on the side in the middle of the summer. But not that I've not forgotten it or anything, but I'm just putting it out there.
I was going to say, that was only 2004, that, mate. How funny. My mum gave me crates of sugar-free beans, sugar-free everything. I'd not long been out of hospital. I just come and your missus Karen must have just been like, what is the deal with this lad? He's just overrun our house for 2 weeks.
Yeah, parked in my spot in the drive. Had all that stuff out the fridge.
Yeah, me and Karen. You're lucky I didn't nick your missus, mate.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Oh,
no,
well.
no comment.
Yeah, it's probably one of the only ones you haven't nicked so far, isn't it?
I knew that was coming. Knew it was coming, and I won't be able to edit that bit out either. Oh, mate. Right then, Matthew. First of all, mate, you're back by popular demand because your preview of Thruxton was absolutely epic, and it got so many views, mate. Because as you always do, you just said it how it was and what you thought was going to happen, and you told the truth. So, firstly, thanks for coming back.
It does worry me that I said the wrong things and I'll upset the wrong people, but yeah.
I don't think you upset anyone. It was just fans, mate. It's very tribal at the minute, touring cars, and I like that. It's a bit of reaction in it.
It always it's been for a long time. When Jason and I were at the forefront, you got the Jason supporters, you got the Honda supporters, which were my guys, and they hated each other. They hated Jason and they hated me, but that was part of it. Yeah, that was part of the crack, and I learned sometimes it does get a bit personal, but you learn to embrace it and enjoy it and run with it. So it's all part of the crack, isn't it?
Hey, that's interesting actually, because I remember you told me, I don't know if you want to repeat it, but there was a story of you getting a bit of grief at Alton Park once, wasn't there? Off a Plato fan.
Oh, I've walked across I can't remember. I've had grief everywhere. I've walked across the circuit. I went down at Brands Hatch at 7:30 in the morning, and there've been people with in the grandstand setting the stall out already at turn one, and I've heard Neal, and I look up and go to wave, and they go, "Yo," like this, and they give me all this signs. But it's the women doing it. The husbands are trying to get them to sit down, and this is 7:30 in the morning, so I'm just waving, and they've all got their Chevy Lachetti jackets on, so they're all obviously Jason fans. And then I remember at Alton Park walking out to the car park and seeing Jason's car covered in phlegm. His road car. It wasn't me. Or I don't know who's done it, but obviously someone's done it. And I thought, oh well, I get it. So he gets it. We both got it at certain points.
Mate, I've been dead lucky actually. I come out of touring cars, I think, at the right time where social media wasn't massively prominent, so I didn't get any grief. But now what I do get is grief for maybe saying that Hondas are going to do this and Hondas are going to do that, or BMWs are going to do this, and people you can't have an opinion anymore, can you? Because they just pick at you.
No, so now you ring me up, so I have an opinion. So they won't get at you.
Sharing's caring, Matt. So I ring you, mate.
Yeah.
But do you know what? Actually, we'll get this one quickly out of the way, fella. Andy Neat, not at Snetterton. Jessica Hawkins coming in, replacing him. Can I ask you, mate, because I don't speak to Andy or anyone in particular about it, is that a genuine, I'm fed up with social media, I want a bit of time off, or is that I'm not coming back? What do you think?
Well, first of all, I'm not happy. The birds are starting to take over, aren't they? They're getting their foot in the door, and look, it's getting out of control already. No, seriously, it's great to have Jess in. It's a wonder with Andy. I always try and, I've spoken to you about it before, that we try and cut Andy some slack. He didn't help himself at Thruxton. I think he's got such a beating on social media. He has had his full of it. I think he will be back at the next one. I think he's just having a bit of time out. But in the meantime, it's great to have Jess on two girls on the grid. But Jess is, she had a debut at Snet last year, did really well. I think it was Snet, and with little running in the car. So it's another one for our guys to try and beat.
Yeah, for sure, mate. Yeah, definitely. I was going to ask you about Jess, but I think you've just knocked the nail on the head, mate. She'll be spot on. She's riding a good wave at the minute, isn't she? With Aston Martin Formula One and all that kind of stuff going on for her as well. So that's good. And like you say about Andy, mate, that we've spoken about it, and that's done and dusted. But I've heard a couple of things that he's been trying to help the people out. Maybe that he had an accident with. Do you know anything about that?
No, I'm the last, I don't know, so many years, I'm a great believer, just concentrate on your own thing, do your own thing. And, when they all gossip early season, oh, he's got that, I don't care. We try and make ourselves fast as we can. And then if we turn up and we're good enough, then we win. If we're not, we don't. And then we go and work harder. So I've just been concentrating on my own stuff since then.
Yeah. And do you know what? Say about that, Matt? We've seen a lot of you on the telly, mate. because of the first race accident at Thruxton with Gordon Shedden. I mean, that must have just been, mate, it just must be horrible. If you're driving around as his teammate, like you would have been, it's horrible enough. But being being what you are at the minute for the team, is that even worse? It's like, oh no, we've got a nightmare on our hands, because you're just concentrating on driving usually, aren't you?
It is. People said, "Oh, did you really miss it?" Not as much as I thought I did. The weirdest part was when they got the green flag and wanted to do the green flag lap, because in the car, you concentrate on so many things, the people around you, the environment, the track, you're warming your brakes, warming the tyres, warming the clutch, where you're going to start, how you're going to start, going through the start procedure in your head. And suddenly when the cars go off, there's nothing, it's silence, and everyone's sort of looking at themselves, and I'm thinking, well, what do we do now? And it's such a lull period, and I've never experienced that, because I've never not been on the grid at a race meeting. So that was very strange for me. But I enjoyed the part we played. I enjoyed trying to work with Dan Robo and with Flash, trying to help them all. It's I'm on the radio comms with them too, but I don't want to say too much, because I don't want to overrule or intrude on the engineer-driver relationship. But I try and chivvy in with bits of info and encouragement at different points of the race. And so Flash had a really rough Thruxton. Robo he exceeded mine and the team's expectations tremendously, whether that be by luck or whatever. I know Thruxton suits the Civic, but I was really pleasantly surprised. Race 3, take it away, because it was just mad conditions, whatever you're in. And I think Jake on slick tyres around there was fair play. That was very impressive.
Mate, it was, wasn't it? And just a quick one on Robo. I've got to say, he's been very kind with words about yourself, saying you've really, took him under your wing, and they've seen you on track walks and things like that. Is the respect mutual? Because like we've spoken before, I think he will push Gordon when he gets up to speed, and he had a great race too, didn't he, at Thruxton?
He did. I still don't believe he's got the pace of Flash. But I like him. I really do like his attitude and his approach to it all. He's under no illusion to him. Some people delude themselves of what they're capable of, and he's under no illusion of that. He knows where he needs to learn and where he needs to improve, and he'll work on it. I think he beats himself up a bit too much occasionally, and I did pull him up on that at Thruxton, one of the things. So self-flagellance doesn't achieve anything. You've got to focus on what's important. He's a clean sheet, and he wants to learn and he wants to improve, and I think the foundation is great there, and I think he's a good lad. He works as hard. He works as hard off the track as he does on it, which I really like. That's a good analogy for him.
And those kind of people, when they work that hard, how much it means to them, because they don't give up, do they?
Yes, and he's gone through lulls in his period. People said to me, "Oh, he's crap," and blah blah blah, but he's never had the funding there. He's now got some good funding behind him. He's got hopefully we've got a good team and car for him to try and prove himself in. And he's got a 2-year deal under his belt. So I said, look, you're not going to win anything this year. Just get that into your head. This year is a learning year, and you would, if results come, it's an absolute bonus. And he got some decent results. He was close to the podium at the Thruxton. Which I was amazed at, and I think he was pretty surprised at. But it's brilliant. I think that's fantastic. But he's going to have bad meetings. He's going to have good meetings. So hopefully some more good ones. So we'll see.
We'll see what happens. It's good to see Dan Cam back, wasn't he? He was on top form. Was it weird to see him driving around in that BTC car?
Yeah, I didn't like seeing him in a competitor's car, but it is what it is. He's his own person. He's a class act. Same way as he's jumped in the Porsche and straight back on it. So, we haven't seen the last of Camo in touring cars just yet. And hopefully we can get some deal in the future where we can tempt him back.
Yeah, no, that'd be nice, mate. Now it was good to see him out there and good to see him doing the business and working with Josh as well.
It's unfortunate with I think it was good for Josh because it showed his mettle and proved his status in BTC.
Yeah.
But I don't think Josh is very good in variable conditions, which what qualifying was. And I think the variable conditions, maybe did we see the true Dan? I don't know, because it was so a lottery. There was who went for the tyres at the right points and everything, and Josh got that absolutely bang on. He was, and we messed it up with Flash a bit, and I think Camo messed it up a wee bit as well. So anyway,
I was going to ask you actually, Matt. I've just actually deleted the question off my notes when I was talking to you, but I'm going to ask you anyway because you've mentioned it. Do you think that the cream rose to the top at Thruxton because of the difficult conditions and what the track is like, and it's like the most quirky track ever and most dangerous track we go to? Would it be the same championship table we're looking at now if it was round 1 at Silverstone National Circuit, say?
I don't know. I think with no weight, I think Jake would have been quick. So he had a great weekend. Ashley Sutton, he was. I looked back at the weekend and I went, he was ominously quick. He was, worryingly quick for everybody, for us and for everybody else. I think he's going to be a tough act to beat this year again. Yeah. I think the people who really exploited the conditions of everything and really impressed me, Tom Ingram, in the Hyundai. I thought he'd do well, but not quite as well as he did do, and that was very impressive. Because it's as you say, it's not a circuit for the faint-hearted. And to ring those sort of lap times, was it conditions or was it he was there? So and I think it was just a bit of rotten luck and everything that he didn't score stronger, better results throughout the weekend.
I think you're dead right, because you did say the lad can drive anything, and I think we both agree with that. And I think that was perfect conditions for somebody like him to just eke up the front, and when you know what car you've got underneath you and it's difficult conditions, you've got an edge on people, haven't you?
Well, we've followed that Toyota for the past couple of years, and he drives it on the edge. He's driven that thing absolutely on the edge, and that's what you have around there. And he just picked that Hyundai up by the scruff of its neck, and he hung on. It was like a bull, riding a bull, like a lot of them are. It's scary stuff out the back, and but that's how Tom drives. He drives it like he doesn't leave anything on the table. So that's fair play.
Definitely different than somebody like Colin Turkington, that's for sure.
Turks. I mean, he wasn't doing it in pre-season, and I thought we all thought, and I thought, he's hiding his, he's hiding his performance and everything. And then he got to the first race 1 and qualifying in race 1, and he just was exactly the same as he'd been in testing, which was pretty average, considering he's a 4-time champion. Yeah. And how strong the BM's been in everywhere. The BM historically wasn't strong around Thruxton, but last year it was. Yeah. With the 3 Series. So I wouldn't say I was disappointed to see him down there, but. Every weekend you can get one over on Colin is a bonus, I think, because he's normally one of his strong points is consistency. So for him to start with a rough one was very, very encouraging. Yeah, for us. I
must admit, because he had a bit of a sore back, I think, as well. He was struggling. He had to go to a chiropractor after qualifying, I was told.
Right.
He was really bad, Matt. Apparently he couldn't get out of the car, because I'd seen him on the Thursday before for some filming with BMW, and he wasn't great, mate. He really wasn't. But you know what it's like in them cars. The seats are so stiff and everything's so rigid. It really comes through you, doesn't it, through the car, whatever.
And you do get round Thruxton, you get battered. I mean, you are proper hanging on at the back. It's like the car's bucking and twisting, which the TV doesn't. Some of the TV angles used to show it, and it doesn't so much anymore. But you are getting proper beaten up in those cars. And so for over a race day, you end up, even if you're fighting fit in good health, you end up very drained and beaten up by the end of the weekend. And so if he's been on the half, then I can see it would have been a bit of a struggle.
Yeah, you'd be glad to see the back of that place. So let's talk about Snetterton. First of all, you, my friend, have had some fantastic weekends around Snetterton, and so you would know what kind of car you need around the Snetterton circuit, especially the 300 now in its new guise.
I think you need a light car. So I think the cars which are carrying weight from the first meeting, i.e. Jake Hill, Josh Cook, and co, that they might find it tougher for qualifying, especially. And this series, it's so close, it's all about qualifying. But then we found in the FK8 that carrying weight does find you traction. You lose traction when you take weight out. So out those hairpins, it's not as big a hindrance as it is, but it does cost you, definitely. Even just up, we've got big drags from sort of second gear upwards. Up the start finish straight and from turn 2 back towards turn 3. So that will make the weight will kill. You need a good all-round car. The rear-wheel drive should be strong. Unfortunately, I think Ashley will be really strong again. The Infinities will be strong. The Beamer should have a good weekend. I'm hoping we should be there with Flash because he's carrying a little bit of weight, but not too much. Robo, I don't know what to expect really. It's so open at the moment. You've got good drivers ended up in teams which you wouldn't have put at the front before, like the Hyundai, like with Ingram. But I think Ingram can drag her. From the way he went at Thruxton, I wouldn't be surprised if he drag a result out of that anywhere this season. And if he's doing it, then there's no point why the others can do it because they'll see data. I mean, one of the problems at Hyundai last year was they had a breakdown in driver communication. You got two sides of the garage, and it was either mismanaged or not managed. But it ended up costing them, I think, in how they progressed with the car. Now they've obviously got four cars, two car teams, and I think with the likes of Tom and Co in there, if as long as the drivers are all communicate, then they should all move forward.
Yeah, it's like you say, isn't it? It's just it's making sure that you're getting the data to the right people, because it didn't, reading between the lines, and you'll know about as much as I do, but it didn't sound like a great situation, did it? Where there was just a bit of a breakdown on engineering chat and things like that. But I mean that it just needs a strong personality sometimes to come in and say, this is the deal, this is what we're doing.
Well, I mean, me being in a managerial role, I've been there. As the team manager, you go and get the drivers, each of them by the scruff of the neck, bang their heads together and go, you pair of idiots have got to work together. Yeah. Not let it, I mean, from what I've heard or been told, it got out of hand there last year, so they weren't sharing data, they weren't sharing setups, they weren't talking, and like, you can't do that. That's bullshit.
Yeah, it's not the way, is
it? Sometimes being just directness and bluntness is the best way. And you've got to not, everyone has egos, you've got to knock the egos out of people and saying, hang on a minute, you're not just doing it for yourself, you're doing it, there's a whole army of people behind you, so don't be selfish.
And it's interesting these days, isn't it? Because when me and you have been teammates, when Vauxhall have backed us, we've had me, you, Muller and Thompson, and you would think there would be massive problems within that team with 3 world-class drivers and a lad from Widnes. But you look at it, and that team wouldn't have that any day of the week. They would not stop Muller. They wouldn't be happy if Muller wasn't talking to Thompson about his setup, or Matt Neal to Thompson, or whatever. But the teams and drivers now are so independent because they bring so much of their own sponsorship. Sometimes I think the dynamic's a bit different. Do you think?
Maybe. I know with Ivan, he was supremely confident in his own ability. Jimmy, Jimmy, Jimmy's Jimmy, isn't he? And then I think where we were in the egg team, we weren't expected to perform, so anything was a bonus. So yeah. And the cars I do, but we're all even. So if you could get results, and then it was happy days, and we all had a fair crack of the whip, and we all had some laughs along the way, so that works. But I know what you mean. Some people bringing funding because they've got some good backers, and they go, well, I'm here, because I've seen it.
Yeah.
So I'm paying to be here. So you've got to, I've got to do it my way. No, because it costs more to be there than what a lot of the drivers' funding's coming. That's just part and parcel of the game. Probably 3/4 of the drivers on the F1 grid all take funding with them. Alonso, he's always backed by Santander, and it's wherever he goes. And there's all this. You used to have the Marlboro drivers, all the crew. They're all still backed by Marlboro. Just they can't have it on their helmets or the cars anymore.
That's very true. I did tell someone that the other day. I said, look outside of Red Bull, Mercedes, and Ferrari, and a couple of other drivers in other teams, and you're really struggling to see a team that actually funds the driver completely, and that's Formula One.
Yeah, I mean, it's at all levels of the motorsport. There's 30 some odd thousand license holders, race license holders, never mind rally and rallycross and all the rest of it in the UK. I bet less than 2 dozen make a proper living at it. Where they take nothing and just earn large out of it. Less than 2 dozen.
Yeah.
All the rest of us, we've had good years. You go from feast to famine. You have a couple of great years, and then you have a couple of really crap years, and you've got to sort of get over those. The likes of Ollie Gavin have been really lucky because they dropped onto the Chevy contracts. It's Chevy, isn't it?
Yeah. I
think all these GM contracts, and he had probably 10 or 15 great years out in the US. But those guys are very few and far between. The rest of us, we have a few good years, but we're all constantly working on sponsorship and backing and networking and deals, and that's the name of the game. I have karting dads come up to me and saying, "Oh, you got some good advice for my son?" And I go, "Yeah, one, get a good education, because that makes you wiser and better conversed with the sport you're going into. But 2, have a good exit strategy." And they look at me like I've gone mad.
Yeah.
Because how long is your career going to be? 1 year, 2 years? I mean, people who stay in 20, 30 years are very few. You know that.
Yeah.
So you've got to think, what am I going to do when I come out of it? So, and that's not what they want to hear, but it's the truth.
It is so right. I get the same people asking me about touring cars and this, that, and the other, and I can't tell them enough that it's not like, if people ask me about sponsorship, and I'd still be racing myself, Matt. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Gone are the days of me trying to find 300, 400 grand. When I drove with Tech Speed, it was 200 grand, and I was lucky that the team already had the money from the sponsors on the car. So I just pitched up with 5 or 6 grand, paid myself a few quid, and that was me, and that was a great year for me. But the rest of it is so difficult, and that's why I've got respect for Rowbottom, Ash Sutton, Ingram. These people, they're businesses on wheels, aren't they? To be fair to them.
Yeah. I mean, the model person of that is Jason. I mean, he had probably 10 fantastic years, earning really well out of it. But in that time, he started up his own marketing company, etc., and now he raises a sponsorship and he pays himself a great wage out of that sponsorship, and the correct funding goes to the team, and he does well out of it as well. So he earns a living out of doing it, but he works at it. He works at it, and he works harder.
And I think this will be the year for me that makes or breaks British touring cars. I think with the pandemic that's going on, and teams like you're involved with Team Dynamics, that it really isn't a cash cow like people think, and I think this is where we really need to sit down and see how much this is going to cost us, especially going into the hybrid era as well next year. It's more money again, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, you're talking minimum 50, 60 grand just to upgrade your car to hybrid. So for 4-car teams, with testing you need to do, they could be looking at £250,000 just to stand still.
Wow.
And that's a big burner, because that money's got to come from that. Gow's not going to pay for that. Toka aren't going to pay for that. They're just holding everyone's holding their hands out, saying, right, we want our piece, and they've got other things like, you want to go testing? Oh, right, you've got to have another set of batteries. That's another 10 grand's worth, because your batteries only last so long, and you've got to charge them. So there's lots of other little caveats they haven't even sort of skirted on yet. I mean, we've got to do it, because that's the way the world's going. But it's it's a burner, and it's going to hurt a lot of people.
Yeah, definitely. Do you think, just on that note, because it was in my notes to ask that question about the hybrids, are you all for it? I'm with you that we need to do something because that is the way motorsport is going. Do you think we should have maybe delayed it with the pandemic, or do we just need to run with it and go with it?
The problem is you're almost already too late with it. It's got to be done. Unfortunately, it's got to be done. The cost, I'm against it for the cost.
Yeah.
But you can't not do it. You know, this electrification of the world, of automotive world, is coming whether we like it or not. But, you know, I drove that all-electric Stad Fiesta rally car.
Oh, yeah, that looked wicked.
A month or so back. Oh, unbelievable. It's like being fired out of a catapult when you launch it. But they would charge it, and they would say to me at Lidenhill, right, you've got 3 laps. Not 4, 3.
Oh.
And then it comes back and goes on charge. So this pure ETC, which is the pure electric touring car series, which is starting up in Europe, which Chilton's driving for Hyundai, incidentally. They can't do touring car races. They've got to do short, sharp, little head-to-heads. I don't actually. The first race is the weekend after Snet, and I'm on the commentary team, and we still don't know the exact format. But it's got to be, because they can't do a complete race. They can only do 3 or 4 laps, and then you've got to park them and charge them. Wow. So there's no BTC can't go fully electric at the moment. It's the only option is hybrid.
Yeah.
And it's got to be seen to be embracing and something. Well, is it going to change the racing? Not really. No, because they're still going to be petrol. They're still going to be noisy, which everyone wants. Yeah. And it's a bit of a box ticker, in my opinion. But it ticks the boxes, as a lot of the manufacturers are doing at the moment. They're all sort of having to be seen to go down that route, if not doing it totally.
Yeah, it must be, do you know, just thinking about that, it must be a bit of a difficult one. I know there's not many manufacturers in British touring cars now, but the ones who have a bit of money off manufacturers, they must question it, because it's not their hybrid system, is it? Like, it won't be BMW's hybrid system if they're in it next year. It won't be Ford's hybrid system if they're with Motorbase next year, will it?
Yeah, but you know, the hybrid systems they use in F1 are nothing like they're going to use on a road car, or Formula E. They're nothing like, you know, the Formula E, they're all stock or bespoke, or it is what it is. You know, the suspension's nothing like a road car. You know, they're quite devoid. Back from the days when the RS 500s and where we started with Super Touring 2-litre series, where it had to be sort of roughly based on a road car. I mean, the modern day BTC car is okay. The silhouettes and the shell's got to be start original. Yeah. But then there's nothing left of the shell by the time you've cut the bits away and added the bits on, you know, to where you are.
Yeah, that's very true, actually. No, it's just very interesting to hear your.
We had a thing with Honda, because they wanted to. We got pre-production with the FK2, which is the first Civic that we used for NGTC regulations, which Flash won his first 2 championships in. Yeah. And we used to recycle the chassis, so we got one chassis which had won 2 championships. And because they're pre-production shells, anything pre-production by Honda has to be crushed. It's in their corporate mandate. And they came to us and they said, right, give us Gordon's car now, because we want to it's got to be crushed. And we said, absolutely no chance, you're not having that. And they went, no, we've got to have it, it's in the corporate mandate. And in the end, we got a photograph of the bare shell, and coloured all in purple all the bits in which were the original car, and this shell, and left white all the bits that had been added on. And there was more white than there was purple original car. So we said, right, we'll cut those bits off and give them back to you. You can crush those and we'll keep the rest. It got to that silly, stupid degree. But
no way, that's
this
nuts.
championship shell still exists.
That is amazing. Where is it then?
Yeah. It actually went to Matt Simpson bought it, and it got pretty destroyed in a testing accident in Spain.
I remember.
So they were gonna crush it then, and it's literally it's sat in the corner of the yard out the back of Dynamics, doing nothing, with leaves inside it. So and that's where it's going to stay for a bit.
It's such a shame, isn't it, when you see all them championship winning race cars, and it's just like a graveyard, isn't it, of cars, and like with bits and bobs hanging off, and you kind of know what they are, but it's all horrible, that.
Yeah, the mad thing is Honda would bring all their bikes and cars over from Japan for the Goodwood Festival of Speed.
Yeah.
And then they would say, right, everything we've got, they want to crush it. Like all the Tourers we won, the first estate car to ever win a race,
yeah,
they all got crushed.
That is just nuts, isn't it?
Yeah, when you see the estate Volvos now, they're iconic cars.
Yeah.
But all the Hondas, there's none of those Hondas left. They've all gone.
That is just crazy, mate. Absolutely crazy.
Shame.
But like you say, corporate mandate, and you have to go with what you've got. But fair play to you, mate, for getting the purple pen out and saving the world.
Yeah, I'll show you the pictures someday. It was quite funny.
That's wicked. Love it, mate. Sorry, I went off on a tangent then. But yeah, back to Snetterton. That was amazing, by the way. Do you remember last year, actually, when Colin pitched up as championship leader, banged it on the pole, and won the 2 races? The weight's changed now, isn't it? So do you think that can happen again for, say, someone like Jake Hill with full ballast?
I think the front wheel drives are going to struggle more. I think, this is one of our big beefs, is where, especially on the BMW, where they're allowed to put the weight. BMW, especially, it gains traction.
Yeah.
And it just showed how strong the BMW was last year. And I think, the BMW should be right on it. I think.
Yeah.
The Infinity too. They're going to be. The weight hurts front wheel drives more. 100%. Thruxton, it's not so bad because it's flowing.
Yeah.
It's less stop and start. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 really tight corners at Snet. Two hairpins. And just the natural physics of a rear-wheel drive. It sits down, puts the weight over the rear. There you go. There's your traction. When a front-wheel drive, you're scrabbling. You're trying to. It's like you trying to climb out of a ditch, sort of thing.
I thought you were going to say it was like me trying to climb out of bed.
Climb out of a ditch. I was going to say drunk, but no, I stopped at that point.
You've said worse, mate. But it's funny though what you say about the BMWs, because I didn't have Colin getting pole with maximum ballast and 2 race wins last year, but remember it was quite cold, and Sutton actually had one of his not very great weekends. I think he got on the podium, but apart from that, it was picking up 4th and 5th from what I remember. He wasn't on Colin's pace, but after that, it changed.
I can't remember it because it was quite early on, wasn't it?
It was cold. Do you remember? It was the new qualifying format, wasn't it? Do you remember?
Yeah, when the top 10 went through or top 12 went through, I can't remember which.
Jake was on the front row with your old FK2, but no one could get near Colin, and it was cold, and they were struggling to get temp in the tyres in the qualifying. I think. I know.
I do know that we'd been whinging about the BMW, obviously. Yeah. A lot of people just keep quiet, but it is a bit of a bar to match front wheel drive to rear drive, and they're always complaining about all the front wheel drives and us, and we're always complaining about them. We're going pointing fingers, saying, "Hang on a minute," and that just cemented how quick the car was and how uneven it was at that point. That Colin just went, "Okay, maximum weight, bang, there you go, easy," and he cruised it. So we didn't even bother going to tow after that. We just held our hands up and went, "Well, you can make your own mind up."
Yeah.
How hard is that to do back there?
No, I understand where you're coming from, mate. And actually, I mean, I bet you'd put your house on your boys being in the top 5 or 6 this weekend in qualifying. You'd be disappointed if Shedden wasn't fighting for pole, wouldn't you?
I hope so. I'd hope Flash would be in the first couple of rows. Robo, I think if we get him into Q2, the final part of qualifying, I'll be really chuffed. If he's in, I'd expect. I'm not trying to undo anything. He's, and put him down. And I think top 15, top 10 is an absolute result. If he could get in the top 10, then it's fantastic. Somewhere like 8th or 9th, it would be a real good platform to start the weekend from.
Yeah, no, definitely. And do you know the other thing I was going to talk to you about, was Rory Butcher, obviously Gordon Shedden's brother-in-law. Mega driver. I've got so much time for Rory. I absolutely love him. I think he's a great guy, one of the best drivers out there. That he couldn't have had a worse start to the year, could he? And he's got to bounce back in that Corolla, because that's his debut win, was at Snetterton, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, Rory, he had a rotten weekend, didn't he?
Ugh.
Considering he's been on it in testing, the car's proven.
Yeah.
So, and he's going really well in testing. So, I mean, the one good thing for Rory, he's going to be light. So he's just got to, I wouldn't say he's got to build his confidence. He's just got to keep his powder dry. The results will come to him. Because he's quick enough. The car's quick enough. The game moves on every year. And I would say never underestimate the opposition, no matter who they are on the grid. Even the likes of, Jack Goff in the Seat or the Cooper as it is now. Sorry. Anybody can get a result. And so there's not a them and us, of quick cars and slow cars anymore. It's tough. Tough going out there. Yeah. And I think Rory, he'll be light, so it should be advantage him, but no more than Flash in the FK8 and no more than a few others either.
There's a lot of people in the mix. When you do these previews, it's difficult, isn't it? Because you're pulling drivers out of a bag of 15, 20 who could actually get on the podium. That is how competitive it is, isn't it? And I've got here written, Matt, I've got Ingram, Oliphant, Morgan, Jelly, Chilton, those kind of people, not Ingram so much, but those kind of lads without weight in good cars. Morgan, Chilton,
Oliphant, Chilton had a rotten weekend. Just I don't know why, just circumstance, and again it was a lottery on the weather, which spiced it up for all of us. Like, it's not very pleasant driving here, as you know, but it made it exciting for the fans. I think it made good TV. So all those guys we could have a bit of a changing of the guard, but that just brings it closer together. So I said to Flash after qualifying or after race one, I said, don't worry, if you score bad now, it's advantage us later on. So you don't win and lose the championship at the first couple of rounds. You win and lose the championship at the last couple of rounds, and then you do the groundwork in between that.
Yeah, like you say, you just get to the last round, don't you, and just make sure you're in with a shot. But Matt, does it confirm to you then, after seeing what Jake Hill did at Thruxton, as in he went across the finishing line in 3 races, 3 times in 3rd place? It's just consistency, isn't it? It doesn't matter if you win a race or not, because Turkington did it with 1 race win, 2017, I think, or sometime around then, winning a title.
Yeah, I think we worked it out that you've got I can't remember.
Is it 5th place?
300 points is the magic number to win a championship.
Wow.
You've got to be around about that, and that's something like a 3rd or 4th place in every week, every race. So you far from win it, you've just got to be there, and you've got to keep on finishing, because the one shortcoming Ashley's got, he's meteorically fast and spectacular, and he's like, when he was coming through those races, and which he has done before, it's like watching Mario Kart. He just works his way through the grid. Whether that's a combination of the car, Ashley, and everything. He did it in the Subaru, so you've got to say Ashley is quite special. But then he'll make a stupid mistake, or he'll go down the inside someone, and someone won't want to let him through, and they'll turn in on him, or break his wheel, or push him off, or something like that. And then he's down the back of the grid, and he's having to do it all again, which is great for us to watch. And it gives us, it gives the drivers our boys a breather.
Yeah.
But if he could just cut those mistakes out, he'd be unstoppable. I hate to say.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't give him that advice. I just keep on going for it.
But you did say, you said exactly what I said to someone not long ago about Thruxton. Sutton was ominous. And the reason I say he was ominous in general, is he was ominous because Thruxton really isn't a circuit for that kind of car. He was fast and good, wasn't he?
Yeah, I mean, last year I had a good dice with him. One of the races, I can't remember which.
Knockhill it was. You were telling me about.
No, but Thruxton I had a good run with him, and he just couldn't get that infinity round the quick stuff around the back, sort of Goodwood and Church. And I went to him. We got out of the cars afterwards, and I went, "Why couldn't you get it around?" He said, "I just couldn't hustle it around there." And then because I don't know, with the softness and the traction and everything through the complexes, everything, he would pull miles out of me, like. not tens of meters, hundreds of meters, it seems like each lap. But I managed to get enough air between me and him through the quick stuff to buffer that gap for when he'd be on me in the braking and zones and everything. So if they sort that out, and if they've sorted that out, which they seem to have done in the weather conditions and everything, then not good. No. Not good for the rest of us.
No. Actually, on that note, Matt, do you think BMW have done enough to sort their wet weather performance out?
I don't know. I mean, the last round, the back end of last year was damp, wasn't it, or wet? Yeah. And you could see Colin really struggling with the car. He was on edge when Ashley was just his Infiniti was hooked up. So they're not stupid at West Surrey. They know that, but whether that's the how they've designed the car to work. I don't know, because I'm probably going to be one of the last people they'll tell.
Yeah. You can't just pick up a BMW and say, do you know what? I mean, it'd be easy for Sisley maybe to go, do you know what we're going to do? We're going to re-engineer the wheel on our 330i's. We're going to make them as soft as we think the Infiniti is, because it doesn't work like that. You can't just put an FK8 set up on a Hyundai, can you? It don't work like that.
No, and it surprised me how much, just mentioning Sisley, how much they struggled. And I thought they'd be much more. And they struggled in testing, and they struggled in. But I did say when they bought the cars, I went, I can't see. We've always given everything at Dynamics. Yeah. Everything. To whoever's run with one of our cars. And then it's open season. If you beat us, fair play. We want to beat you. And we'll work to those ends, but we hand everything over. Yeah. In my experience, Dick isn't like that, or West Surrey aren't like that. And so we thought, well, we're fighting West Surrey, so that takes Sisley out of the game, in theory. Yeah. And that's been the case so far. So it'd be interesting if they can prove me wrong. Yeah. And get the lads back on the case.
They were brand new cars, Matt, them two, weren't they? Them two cars for Chilton and Morgan are brand new cars, and they had failures, didn't they?
Yeah, but everyone has, just because you get in a good car and a good team doesn't mean you don't have failures.
Yeah. West Surrey had failures, I think, with Jelly maybe. I think they had failures as well.
Yeah, and we have failures, and there was all sorts going on at every meeting which you never pick up.
Yeah.
And they sort of hide away, but you'd like to think the prep is dead on, and that's just a question of that's why we life. Every component here is lifed. So if it's at the end of its life and it's still working well, it still comes off the car. Yeah. And just to try and you've got to finish the races. Just going back to your Jake Hill consistency, you've got to finish the races. You've got to try and score points every time out, no matter where you are or where you're going to finish.
Yeah. No, that's fair enough, mate. Well, I knew I'd get told properly by you. Listen, mate. Last 3 questions. Quickly. Cookie, with all that weight in, I ask about Cookie because you know the car. Knowing the car, what will he be trying to do to combat that weight? Will he have push in the car, or will it make it more oversteery with the rears moving around? What will he be doing most likely in free practice on Saturday at Snetterton to battle that car around?
The car you put weight in it just becomes more lethargic. So it's slow. So historically, it would become you get more push, more washout. Just found something horrible on the floor. Just noticed it. Must have come for a shoe. But you can get traction. You can gain traction back. So it's not you won't lose. But I'd say if you count 10 elements. Potential elements of performance in the car, he might gain or stay status quo on 2, but lose on 8. So it will be a tough fight for him. The good thing for him is I think it was funny that watching the politics of Steve Dunman, the boss of BTC, bringing Camo in. Yeah. Because I don't think that went down with Josh, and everyone was giggling about it. They all got on well in the end, and it proved Josh's metal there and his his capability and his speed, so that'll be a good boost for Josh.
That was sink or swim, Matt. That was sink or swim, wasn't it?
if Camo had gone and smoked him, then his stock value in the team they'd have questioned him for the rest of the year.
Mm-hmm.
As it is, he's sort of taken that and he's quashed that now, so they can all get behind him and believe in him and push him. He's won championships, so he knows how to win championships. He just hasn't been able to do it consistently in BTC this year or up to now by virtue of what he's been driving.
Yeah, and I was going to have this as my last question because you might have just hung up, but we had a bit of a quip, didn't we, on Twitter about Swindon engines and Neil Brown engines. I've driven both in different regulations. NBE engines, which are, in my eyes, probably the best ever engines I've ever driven. The engineering, the support is amazing. And the Swindon engine is obviously the controlled Toker engine. Josh's team, the BTC lot, have got the Swindon engine. And they've had an NBE engine before, but you guys have got NBE. I asked the question, didn't I, to Creasy last time out, what's the difference, what do you think? And I don't know if a few comments from him might have spiked you a bit, but what do you think about, why haven't you got a Swindon engine in?
Well, it always used to be the case that Honda was an engine builder first, a car producer second.
Yeah.
So when I remember my first ever driver contract with Honda, I could go outside the BTC and drive anything as long as it got a Honda engine in it. Wow. If it hadn't got a Honda engine in, I wasn't allowed to drive it.
Amazing.
And that it's a different case now. So we could run with the Toker engine, but our belief was we like to be in control of our own destiny.
Mm-hmm.
We have total belief in Neil Brown. I do think, he wasn't employed to design and build out his DTM engines for 12 years for no reason. And every year for the past 25 years, his company has won a major championship somewhere in the world.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a reason for that. And the people he employs and, how much he's a proper clever bloke.
Yeah.
He and Mounty are, but Neil especially, I really rate him. Really, really rate him. And, for me, there's no decision. Commercially, it stacks up as well. I've whinged in years gone by, 10 years ago, about the disparity of the engines because they weren't equal, and I think they were being manipulated to help the racing when the Honda was so fast.
Yeah.
But now I think the engines are all much of a muchness. The last 5 years they've all been absolutely spot on, and the cars are too equal, so the engines are equal as well. They reckon the Toker's got a little bit more low down, the Honda's got a little bit more at the top end, but it all evens itself out nowadays. So
I'll tell you what, Matt, do you know what I just find hilarious, mate? I go and watch the cars at the chicane exiting Thruxton. The MBE engine in your car, in the Hondas, because there's an MBE engine in the BMW as well, or any BMW, but yours sounds so much different than a Toker engine. Why is that? I've always wondered. It just sounds really like it's revving 3,000 RPM less than anyone else.
Well, it does run with an integral exhaust manifold.
Uh-huh.
That's the big difference in the engine. The old K20 engine, which was the classic Type R engine, that used to really bark and spit and fire flames out. That was great. It used to really bark. This with the integral, this is the K20C. Mm-hmm. Which is an integral exhaust manifold, which comes with certain issues. It's more for emissions. It's a production thing.
Yeah.
But it's what we got. That is one of the main reasons, and it's not going to help it, but it is what it is. And that's Steve Dubman, who runs BTC. He says, "I don't like the tone of the engines." That's what I think he wants to he had to be seen to do something different to us. But one of his reasons is he doesn't like the tone of the engine. He likes the tone of the Toker engine as it barks and it goes past. So fair enough, whatever.
I'll tell you what, that's really interesting he says that, because I don't know whether that might come from the oval background, because they're really wrought and, proper NASCAR-y sound.
You mean when they can't afford exhaust, they run without exhaust on them?
That might be it. Dudman, Steve, why did you go with the Swindon engine? Oh, mate, it just sounds like it's got no exhaust on it. We like that. What an absolute lad. Listen, mate, very, very, very last question. It's about your old mate, JP, Jason Plato. What a weekend at Thruxton. Is this the best you've seen him start a year for a while, and has he got the tools to do the business, mate?
as I think I said when you asked me last time, they've made a really good little car with that Astra, and I think one of the problems they've had is there's insufficient funds to really take it forward.
Yeah.
But he's got a good teammate. He's got a strong teammate with him this year who's going to push him. And I think if they work well together, that's the strongest I've seen Jason start for a few years. And Jason, when it's going right for you, you find that little bit extra. You dig deeper and you find extra. And he had some horrible years with the Subaru, and I think you lose a bit of interest, and then you turn up and you go through the motions, and you just go home. Well, you wait for the dinner bell to go home. I think we could see a different Jason, which would be great for us, because Jason's always good for falling out with someone. If it wasn't me, it'd be someone else.
It was Josh Cook at Thruxton.
Now I'm sat on the sidelines. As long as it wasn't one of our boys, that's great.
Well, it was Josh Cook and Jake Hill at Thruxton. I think he block Jake in qualifying, and then he said Josh was trying to slow him down when he was trying to get past him or lap him or something. So yeah, he's found new friends, Matt. I think you've been forgotten about in his book, mate. You might be back on his Christmas card list.
There's plenty of other planks out there to hold people up on qualifying laps. I don't think there's the only one.
John George doesn't race anymore. Oh, Matty, listen, you've been an absolute ledge as usual, mate. Love you to bits, and thanks for helping us out, mate. Preview Snetterton. I'll see you there. Captain fans are back. 4,000 people, I think. It's going to be cool, man.
Yeah, mate. Happy days. Yeah, well, we're getting there, aren't we? Slowly, so yeah.
Fingers crossed, mate. Fingers crossed. As I've said before.
You get some. I still get some fan mail, and one of the guys, I had an email in from wherever, and some guys obviously got a ticket for Snetterton. He goes, "Oh, make sure you look out for me at the bomb. I'll be waving." And I went back to him. I said, "I'll pass it on to the lads and to give you a wave." So,
mate, some people don't have a clue, do they? I love it. Oh, somebody rang me actually the other day about you, saying, "Is Matt Neal still alive?" I went, "Oh yes, Matt Neal is still alive." So yeah, you'll have to teach all these people a lesson, mate, who don't read the news, and get back out there next year, lad.
Yeah, mate. We'll have a two-car team, mate.
Yeah, my word, mate. I'm back. I tell you what, mate, with all my Gogglebox fame, I'll be paying for myself to race, fella. I'll be coming knocking on Dynamics' door to crash your cars.
Good lad.
Nice one, mate. Have a good one. Cheers, Matty.
Cheers, mate. See you then.
See you later, mate. Bye-bye. Well. That was interesting. Proper went off a bit of a random path initially, didn't we? Talking about all sorts of stuff, touring cars related, obviously. Hybrids was a question of mine. Love Matt to bits. He always says how it is, and it's not just for reaction. That is how he personally thinks it is, and there's a lot of stuff I do agree with him on, so absolutely fantastic. Snetterton, hopefully loads of fans going, seeing people are booking tickets and everything, which is cool. I think the racing, as I always say, is going to be amazing, but honestly, watch, like Matt said, watch for those people who've had a bad Thruxton, have got no weight, and they're going to be right up the front. And then as we get through the day in rounds 2 and 3, that's when you're going to see, I think, normal service kind of resumed, where people who've sorted out all the weight try to just pick off some points. But there is a lot of drivers out there, and remember this, a lot of drivers out there who have got scores to settle, and also not just with other drivers, but making sure they do the right thing and right the wrongs of maybe what's happened at Thruxton for them, where they've had a failure of some sort, or they've just not performed well. So a lot of pressure on a lot of teams and a lot of drivers. Be very, very interesting to see how it all goes. I just want to give Team Hard a little mention as well. I think them, like Matt said, Jack Goff, for me, he did amazing. I think he's 10th in the championship. He could pitch up, Aaron Taylor-Swift. These guys could pitch up and actually do a mega job and get a reverse grid. I think something's just going to happen in that race 3. Let's just hope that it stays sunny for everyone who's there camping, watching, but also for the drivers. There's nothing worse than having a wet race. It's just the worst ever. Anyway, listen, I'm out. It's been Driveway to Hell on someone else's drive. Hannah Bevan, thank you. And as per usual, we say thank you to Marty, and it's kisses for you. Good night.